Check 1, 2. Team, following up from the previous video, The Art of War, I have a special collaboration with none other than Tom, the Prepared Pathfinder. Make sure you check out his site. So Tom, can you describe your initial movement during the sear challenge, and what was your that first OODA loop process that you did to get off of the X?
So when I initially went on the run on the sear challenge, I moved off at the best speed I could, given the fact I had no laces in my boots. But yeah, moved as best speed as I could, and then as soon as I could, I put in a dog leg, i.e. a 90-degree change in direction, just to try and put off people that were, trying to observe the direction I was moving in. Then what I did is, after I moved off on that dog leg, again I moved at best haste, but also trying to be as stealthy as possible, so I wasn't just crashing through the brush. So I was moving at a relatively good pace, but not just going at speed, using a little bit of stealth as well. After I've been moving for, I don't know, maybe half an hour, I don't know because we weren't wearing watches, we had those taken off us. Yeah, I made a quick halt. So what I did is I put in another dog leg and I got myself into some good cover, so lots of good cover from view. At that point, what I did is I had a look at the little bag, the fanny pack as the Americans would call it, to do a bit of an inventory of what I had, and then just take stock of where I was, that sort of thing. And also, made sure that I was out of those plastic cuffs, because up until that point I was still plastic cuffed. So got myself out of plastic cuffs. I also got some laces in my boots, had some cord in the bag, and then made my way off. So what I did is I made sure that I was staying off the high ground. That was part of my decision-making process, to make sure I was off the high ground at all times, and staying away from tracks.
Man, that's good stuff. So what were some of your decision-making process as you moved through this unknown terrain as you attempted to evade the Mad Dog Stoker?
Now, I did have to cross a track fairly on in that escape route, in that escape and evasion. What I did is I basically waited on the side of a road for, well, a track should I say, for a couple of minutes in cover, observed up and down the road. I did a seal stop, basically a stop, look, listen and smell, for a couple of minutes. When I was pretty sure there was nobody around, I just basically got across that track as soon as possible, made my way into a whole load of manzanita hell, which was just horrendous to get through. But yeah, basically just using that cover of the manzanitas, because there's no way you can really be seen in that shit. Great cover, but just really hard movement through that. But I didn't really have any option, because the direction I needed to move in, it was either move through that or move through more open ground.
Hey man, that's good stuff. Appreciate you giving those insights. Did you have any concerns about some foot patrols, maybe some drones overhead? I think you could probably hear some vehicles moving through the area. What did this make you think, and how did you react to it?
So yeah, I was handrailing the track, and as I was handrailing the track, I basically popped up to try and get a better view onto the track, and that's the point where I realised I was very close. Well, as I was edging forward, I was very close, within probably 50 metres of enemy troops. One of the guys was calling out to try and get us to surrender, that sort of stupid stuff. And yeah, so I realised I was very close, and I just basically stayed still as much as I could, for as long as I could, sorry. They put up drones, and I was a little bit concerned at that point that they may have spotted me, because they had thermal capability on the drones as well, and they also put up foot patrols looking for me. So that's when I stayed still, completely still, for quite a while, before I moved off again. And once I kind of heard that patrol move crashing, because you can't move through that kind of terrain without making noise, so what I did is I waited to hear them move past me a fair distance before I then moved myself.
So, Brent and I, we moved up and down this trail, and then we moved up to an observation post, and we broke from that and shortly after that, we staged ourselves in what we thought was going to be a good ambush site. How did you get to that first extraction point?
Once I did move off again, I then made my way across. I had to go basically through a load of really wet undergrowth, at which point I got quite wet. And as part of E&E, you just put up with it. You've got to get to the extraction point. Made my way across a valley, which was very hard work. Again, initially wasn't too bad, but then again in a very, very sort of tough terrain to move through. Once I got through that, then the terrain started kind of opening up a little bit, and I made my way to the extraction point. And what I did is I got myself into an area that was again parallel in a road, so it's sort of going alongside the road, but not too close to it, so I could keep my bearings. So I knew exactly where I was going to, because I knew that the extraction point was on a track, like a little turning point on a track. So I handrailed the track up down to that point, staying in cover the whole way. I mean, it was pitch black anyway, you couldn't see anything, but I'm just using the cover I had available to try and give a little bit of cover for that sort of the night vision capability the enemy had. Once I got into that extraction point, then I got myself into some very good cover, a real thick cover, and just awaited that pickup. And to be honest, I was kind of expecting it to be an ambush, which is exactly what it was. It was a setup. The enemy knew we was going there, so that's the way it goes. And once that failed extraction happened, you'll see on the video, I sprinted off trying to chase that quad bike, but he wasn't stopping. It's one of them things.
So that extraction obviously didn't work, right? Brent and I, we scared off the good guys, and we began hunting you pretty fiercely. It's night, it's raining, there's poor illumination. Brent did have his optics with him, so he had some NVDs or thermals. I think he had both. So we're moving up and down, left and right, trying to conduct a hasty search. What was your actions?
As soon as that quad bike, I knew I wasn't going to catch it because he was just going. I took myself off that track because I was running after it on the track. You don't want to be on a track for too long if you've got people on your tail. So next thing I did is I broke off left off the track. At the first point I had the opportunity to do it, got myself back into cover and just pushed into some real good thicket cover, and I just stopped there because I knew the enemy were going to be looking for me, thoroughly looking for me at that point. And guess what, the quad bike went past, and it was tempting to then break out and start moving. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I trusted my intuition, because the next thing that I saw after the quad bike, maybe 2 minutes later, was dismounted troops looking for me with MVGs on. So if I'd broken out onto the track behind the quad bike and thought, oh, I'll get some good speed on now, he would have definitely caught me. So yeah, I'm glad for that decision. Once he'd gone past that second person, what I did is I waited a little while, a soak period. I can't remember the time, but I then moved off again through the foliage, and it was hard going because you couldn't see anything at all. And basically what I did is I just tried to make a distance away from that extraction point. And it wasn't a case of, there wasn't a map study because I didn't have a map. It was just a case of trusting your instinct sort of thing, and moving off into an area that was far enough away that had good enough cover so I could just kind of hold up. And that was the end of my extraction, because after that, obviously, I started going down with hypothermia, because I was literally soaking wet from head to toe. And it was night time, we're up in the mountains, temperature had dropped. So at that point, I made the call to get in touch with the safety to say, I need to kind of talk to someone on the DS side rather than just waiting there and freezing to death just for a YouTube video. Not the best decision, that wouldn't have been. But yeah, so that was my escape route, decision making, considerations as I was moving. Anyone got any points to comment about? I'm all ears. Interested to see what you've got to say. However, do bear in mind it's easy to be an armchair commando. It's a lot harder to take part in something and actually, you know, put yourself on the line in front of a lot of people. So yeah, let's not be too arrogant with the comments. Don't forget, I've done this stuff for real as well. All right, anyway, that's all my comments about my extraction plan, my escape plan during the sear challenge. Cheers.
Now, Tom, you know I love you to death, but I got to ask for a friend. It's hanging right there. How does it feel to have had the UK stomped again by a pair of Marines? Team, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave some comments down below. That way we can continue to keep this conversation rolling. As always, until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked. Team, if you want to master your craft and develop your tactical virtue, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you can stay up to date with future content. Consider becoming a channel member. It's going to give you exclusive access to content not available to anybody else. I appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.
I know you're out there! Come to my voice!